We're now joined by Steve Mayer, President of Content and Events for the NHL, and he's the mastermind behind all the great stuff you see, the Stadium Series, Winter Classic. Golden Knights took place in a outdoor game in Lake Tahoe a couple of years. Steve was in charge of that, of course, last year, the Winter Classic in Seattle, and this is your baby as well.
Yeah, listen, we have the best team in the world at what we do. These type of events are the ones that we get up for. It's unique, it's different, it's international, but at the same time, it's here in North America. And listen, it's easy when you just have people that you work with that are the best at what they do. This is really run by our international department, and you know, we're thinking globally. This is just so cool just to be in Montreal, to see the players' reactions about being here, and everybody is anxious to get the games underway.
Gary Bettman is your boss. He's everyone's boss. He calls it the appetizer for the Olympics next year. Yeah, I think it was very well said.
And now that we're here, and we clearly understand that, you know, this is the precursor for what will be the big one next year. But to see the players getting back into this international best on best, to see them get this taste this year, appetizer, for what will be next year, I think it's really smart, and it's going to be great. I mean, and I can't wait to watch it build over the course of the next week to the grand finale, but I just feel so good about how it can and will go.
Well, we just had a practice a little while ago, and Jack Eichel, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, all these great players were on the ice together, the Tkachuk brothers, and now we got to practice McDavid, McKinnon, Stone, it's Makar. It's pretty fantastic, all these players together in one city.
Yeah, and to be behind the scenes, your head's on a swivel. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, we all go into one venue after the other, and there's our star players who, you know, no matter how many games you watch, you're always in awe. But to watch them all together, and listen, we put on all-star games each year. They're fantastic. This has a different feel to it. It absolutely does. I mean, the all-star games are great. Players have a lot more fun. They're very, loose, and, they love the fact that they're, playing in an all-star game. This is different. And it just feels, everything about it is different. They put that sweater on with, the country that they represent, and you could see it's meaningful, and they have a different mindset and a different attitude than they would at an all-star game.
The All-Star game is, well, there's an open bar at the All-Star game. You couldn't give a beer away here.
Yeah.
Like, no one's interested in any of that stuff right now.
Yeah, they're focused. They want to win, and if they tell you otherwise, they're lying. Mm-hmm. And I just love the dynamic. You mentioned all the star players, and you look out on, the ice, and you see Canada, and it's all these incredible players. But I also love the fact that, you look in the USA locker room, and you got the two opponents, and one is in the USA locker room, and I should say the teammates, one's in the USA locker room and one's in the Canadian locker room. That to me is also the interesting dynamic here.
Jack Eichel told us all the guys that play for the Golden Knights flew up together, and when they got to the airport in Montreal, Jack said, "I'll see you Saturday," meaning when they play. Right. Yeah. In the marquee matchup of the prelim, which is Saturday night here in Montreal, Team Canada, Team USA.
And I do think as we go through this, those storylines are going to sort of bubble up, and it makes it really interesting. It's just so cool to be in this environment. We haven't had a tournament like this since 2016. And I always, my memories of that was how just unique that felt and was. And remember, we had Team North America, we had other teams participating, more teams than are in the Four Nations face-off. But this feels, I think, even better or bigger because there's only 4 teams. Because it's concentrated. And again, what they do on the ice will tell the story. But I can't wait to see those storylines unfold.
I love the paying attention to the logistics. you have to, and it might be a monster headache, but like people don't realize, like first of all, there's transportation, you know, and then like the schmucks like me, you got to get me from my hotel to the rink or to the practice facility.
Do we do that okay?
Just let me get to this. Then you got to bring in the families of all the players. You need hotel rooms for all the media, all the players, all the families, all of the NHL staff. The ice has to be good. You've got to have the right referees. You've got to have the right broadcasters.
The building, the graphics, everything's done from scratch.
Yes.
Everything's done from scratch. Again, going back to the team, you know, there's these individual areas. Everybody's got their responsibility. There's certainly people that overlap and do multitasking. But, yeah, everybody knows what their role is. I think that's one of the things that we've become really good at. Like, the team that we put together is the same team that's going to, in 2 weeks, be in Ohio to do the outdoor game in Ohio. We're doing an outdoor game at Ohio Stadium. This was the team that did the Winter Classic. This is the team that goes internationally. And everybody knows their role. They know what their responsibility is. And in an event like this, you're starting from scratch. Like, that's the other thing. Like, there isn't a blueprint. We're sort of not making it up as we go along. But I do think that we're trying to sort of write some rules. And I think this is here to stay. So we're also looking at this as like our appetizer for what will be World Cup of Hockey eventually down the line. So, listen, in the end of the day, there are a lot of moving parts. Pete Penicky runs transportation for us, and yesterday I'm like, Pete, how's it going? And he went with great energy, and he was really proud of this. 92 out of 92. He had 92 players to get into Montreal and get to the hotel and do it abruptly and with no issue, and he went 92 for 92, and that's what makes him proud. And then he's got to get 92 out of 92 out of here as well.
You have to talk to Pete on Thursday afternoon. We're supposed to get 2 feet of snow on Thursday, so it'll be fascinating to see how all that goes.
And we're also supposed to get snow, and this is how we do look ahead, on Sunday. And Sunday is the day we're going from Montreal to Boston.
Back to Boston, yeah. Well, I had snow coming from Boston to Montreal. I got delayed a couple hours. So it's winter on this side of the continent.
It's winter. I guess you don't have that problem where you come from.
We don't.
But you have to factor all of that in, and you never know. And, you know, again, you don't stress. You go with the flow. Things are going to happen along the way. And you react accordingly. And that's all we could do.
So you've done a lot in Vegas. You've done a draft. You've done an all-star game. You've done an expansion draft. You had a Stanley Cup in 17-18, a final where the music was unreal. You had the best Stanley Cup final ever, 22-23.
It's tremendous.
Could Vegas be part of a World Cup someday?
Yeah, listen, the one thing that Vegas has is, it knows how to do a big event.
It really does.
And I think we've proven that we've been able to fit into the Vegas landscape in a really creative and cool way. And we're really proud of what we've done in Vegas. And listen, the team and the organization has been incredible to work with. That makes it all the more better. But when you think of these international events, you go to where there's a melting pot of people, when there's a love of hockey. The games with the USA and Canada, kind of a piece of cake to fill a building. The other games, you have to strategically figure out where you're going to go. Do they have folks that will appreciate the Swedish team, the Finland team, or whatever teams you bring? In Vegas, I think if we look to the future, without making any promises, it's a destination. So, like, we would probably look at it as, if we had a game there, how many people who follow those teams will make it a trip?
Just ask the NFL.
Yeah,
They do it like the Raiders games are like a European soccer match where half the fans are local and half the fans are from. And I think the atmosphere, it makes for a great atmosphere. It's really cool.
I agree.
Yeah.
When you can have a split building like that, it's great. Our home teams don't love that.
No, we don't like that for Golden Knights
No.
games, and our fans don't let it happen.
But I think
for an international event, sure.
Yeah, so I think Vegas is absolutely on a list if we were to look forward.
Yeah. The draft last year was the last in-person draft, and it was in Vegas at the Sphere, and it was fantastic. It was amazing. I walked out of the building, and I walked beside one GM who said to me, I voted to destroy this. I wish I could have my vote back. And then I got caught up with another GM, almost a verbatim conversation. Will the draft be, is it going to be not in person this year? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, decentralized.
Decentralized.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
For one reason or another, and the question was asked, there was not a revote. The decision was made well before we went to Vegas. I was one as well that thought, with the success of last year, and we loved doing it at the Sphere, and we heard from our fans. The fans loved it. I thought there would be a reconsideration, but there wasn't. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do it this year in Los Angeles. It's going to be without the teams being on site. That's what decentralization means.
That's what the teams wanted.
The teams stay home, and a rep will be on site. But for the most part, it's like the NFL does. It's like the NBA does. We'll see. I think there may be a reconsideration after 1 year of doing it the other way, especially coming off of the Sphere. But for right now, the plan that was decided well before we did that draft is still the plan.
It's interesting. In your answer, you said the way the NFL, NBA, and MLB do it. You didn't say MLB, but that's the way they do it too. Yeah. Like, we were different.
We were different. And we will be different. The only thing I'll say to our fans is we are going to approach this differently than the others, because we're last in, and I get it. So how do we sort of approach it and give it a different feel, different look? And we're going to do that. We'll have the details of how we're going to do it coming up in the next few months. But yes, we were different. It's funny, when I came to the NHL, I thought the draft, from watching it, was like, they come at it. The players come out of the stands.
So cool.
And then when I went to the first one, I was like, this is great. Like, this is so different. And listen, a lot of it had to do with budgets.
Like, a player sat right there in that seat.
Yeah, and
heard his name and walked down there onto the stage and put on his new team's jersey, and it was a moment of a lifetime for a fan base. Yeah. I know I don't have to convince you.
No, but it was. And it's just so different. And the second day is, in my opinion, better than the first day. Because the first day, all right, we knew the top 30 players. They're sitting a little closer. It's the guy who's sitting way up top.
Wow, the first year of the Golden Knights ever, Ben Jones went in the last round, and his whole family, like, some people wanted to rush it along. His whole family was there with him, and it was just this, it was such a great moment. And he got down to the Golden Knights realized, oh, we're in the middle of something special. Eric Tosi got him down to the table, and George and Kelly and Gerard Gallant, like, they made it special for Ben. And it's like, listen, it's 8 years ago. Think of that. It's 8 years ago, Steve. Vegas has been in the NHL for 8 years.
That's crazy.
And I still remember like it was yesterday.
And I tell you, I've seen it, and that moment is like, you get as emotional than anything that happens the whole year. It's just like this guy and his family, and you're feeling so bad because this kid might go home and he might not have a team, and you're like, wow, he came all this way, and then he gets picked. It's as if he's the number one pick. Yeah. So we'll have those moments still, but it's not, to your point, about walking down and then meeting everybody right on the floor. That was also super unique.
Well, I like the wrinkle that you did at the Sphere in the first round, where you had someone from the history of the organization out there for the event. Vegas had, Montreal had Celine Dion. San Jose had Joe Thornton. Like, it was it was really neat.
Not to give too much away, we'll have much more of that
All right.
this year because of the uniqueness. Like, that'll make it somewhat unique. So listen, we're going to do certain things along the way that I think will get some attention, be fun. But there will be an element that obviously will be missing.
Well, I trust you. You'll do a great job.
Yeah,
It'll be cool.
But it is something that we have talked a lot about because, we've got a little pressure on us because I do think.
You had a lot of pressure on you last year.
Well, last year was so different. And we all were working in a building that had never done what we did.
Yeah.
Ever. And we were able to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I think we sort of laid a foundation for the Sphere. And it was great. It was so much fun.
I would have loved to have seen what you could have done this year, right? You got the blueprints and you built the house last year.
You learn a lot.
This year you would have renovated the kitchen and got the right window coverings and moved the couch to the right side of the analogy's been stretched, but awesome.
If you'll write the check, we'll go back. It was expensive.
I already told you, Gary Bettman is everybody's boss, not Gary Lawless.
It was expensive.
Oh, yeah?
But it was in our mind worth every penny last year because it just also got us so much attention.
The whole world looked in.
And it was fun. But listen, the beauty of what we all do, every day is a different day, every event's a little bit different, and you just got to keep pushing to make things bigger and better and have some fun.
Have a great week. Good luck. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.